Greetings, I am Maleficious, and I'm back with more of Shenzhen IO. And I think I figured out why I'm better at coding when not recording. Mostly it's because I can take a look at the puzzle from an outside perspective and not worry about having to be talking. Although, again, I don't seem to do much talking anyway, except about what I am doing. But yeah, I've got a solution for both of the problems I worked on, so the first thing is about understanding the puzzle, so let's go to the datasheet and see my recording setup for a second. Okay, well, first thing is we need to look at the 2827 geometric specifications again. And, well, I was really overcomplicating it trying to handle 5 states. Now, while there are technically 5 states here, the more important thing is that it's really 3 states and 2 states that have a potential substate. So, if x is less than 20, you have to be outputting 30. If x is from the range of 20 to 59, you have to output 0 most of the time. And if x is greater than or equal to 60, you have to output 30 most of the time. And then this is where you have to self-contain, because if it's within this range of x greater than or equal to 40 to less than 80, so 40 to 79, and if y is from 40 to 79, then you have to output a higher value. But the thing to realize is that basically the higher value is just the lower state value plus 50. So that's pretty easy to... So once you understanding that, it's pretty important to, well, the solution I came up with. So, let's take a look at that. Also, I'm going to try and keep this recording just to an hour, so... Anyway, I managed to condense this down to 1 MC6000 and 2 MC4000s. And so the big thing is that we have to handle the states. I think I was pretty good in thinking I needed to change the numbers on the state. Oh, well, handling it in states was the right way to go. I just needed to change the number on it. So the first thing is we have to test if x is less than 20. And if that's the case, then we can move 30 into this microcontroller, move 0 into this microcontroller in order to shut off y, and then jump to the end, because we don't need to do anything else, so then it goes to sleep. However, if it's not less than 20, we have to check if it's less than 60, because the 2 states in this case are if x is less than 60 and 20 or more, yeah, if x is greater than or equal to 20 but less than 60, or if x is greater than or equal to 60. So, if it's less than 60, I move a value of 0 to this controller, and if it's not, I can move a value of 30 to this controller. Then, we have to check if it's actually within the range where we have to check for a y value. So, I test if P0 is less than 80, because the range does end at 80, and then I have to test if it's greater than 39, which means it's 40 or more, and if it falls into both these conditions, then I move a value of 1 to this controller here, and if it's not, I move a value of 0, and then it goes to the end. Now this second controller handles the Y case, so it sleeps until it receives data from this X controller, and then I move that into the accumulator, and I test if it's less than 1. And if it's not less than 1, then that means it's 1, because I'm only passing this either as 0 or 1. And so I've used a whole bunch of negative conditions here, because I have to do them in this order, otherwise it doesn't work correctly. So first I have to test if the y value is greater than 80. If it's not, then I have to test if it's less than 40, so that I can get a greater than or equal to 40 result by nodding it, or rather by, yeah. And so if it's in that range, then I move a value of 50 to x1, but in all other cases, if I get past a 0 from here, or it's more than 80, or it's less than 40, I pass a 0 out, and then I set this to sleep 1. And so I have this, I just set it to sleep until it receives data from the Xbus port. I move that to the accumulator, I add whatever value comes from X1, and then I move the accumulator value out to power, and then set this to sleep. So we'll always be getting either a value of 30 or 0 from this controller, and we'll be getting a value of 0 or 50 from this controller. So we'll always be putting out either 0, 30, 50, or 80. And that should work. So I'll just run simulations. And I've got a mug of water tonight. I did not have time to prep tea. Still pretty good. Oh, huh. I made a mistake here. And test run 7? Okay. Okay, an output in 80 when it should be outputting a 50. Or a 30, rather. Okay, why did that happen? Okay, testing less than 20. Move 30. Well, okay, reset. 30, move 0. 0. Jump to end. Test less than 60. Right. If it is less than 60, move 0. If it's not, so if it's 60 or greater, then it moves 30. Okay, test less than 40. Test greater than 80. Maybe it's here. Okay, test less than 80. Yeah, that should be fine. Test if greater than 39. I don't know, how did that happen? Okay, well let's see, it's Y value of exactly 80? That might be the problem. Okay, yeah, that's the issue. Because it's testing if it's greater than 80, but that includes 80 in there, so let's just change this to test greater than 79. So if it's 79 or less, then it goes in. Alright, simulate. Well, my mistake. It wasn't quite the perfected solution I had thought it was. And it runs through all the... Yep. Yeah, production cost 11. I missed it by, I guess, 1 maybe? Well, no, 2? Yeah. I'm using slightly more power than most people and more lines of code. Right. From Poseidon779, task verified complete, payment en route. From Carl Teskey, what a future we live in, eh? From Joe, that was cool! And now the key to understanding the Three Kingdoms token, the token-based payment kiosk, that's actually in the undocumented instruction. They gave you this right before the puzzle where they expect you to start using it. Which is why it's there, of course. So, yeah. I've now condensed this down. I removed the DX300 that was here because it turns out I didn't really need it. So anyway, here's how I've got it set up. Once again, all three, the IN1, IN5, and IN12 are routed in here. So if we hit IN12, it'll output a value of 100, and IN5 will output a value of 10, and an IN1 will output a value of 1. And I've connected up the price to this one microcontroller. And yeah, the big thing is that I was running out of space because I needed more space in order to generate pulses, but the gen command solves that problem easily. So, I set this to sleep until it receives data from here, and move that into the data registry. I test if it's equal to 100, because my problems with testing for greater than or less than meant that these could be triggered by higher or lower commands. So, if it's exactly equal to 100, we add 12 to the accumulator. If it's exactly 10, I add 5 to the accumulator. And if it's exactly 1, I add 1 to the accumulator. Then I test if the price is greater than the accumulator. And if it's not... Actually, that might be a mistake. I think I need to test if it's less than the accumulator. And then if it's not, then that means the accumulator is equal to or greater than the price, which means that they need to purchase things. So we subtract x0 from the accumulator, move the remaining value into this handler, and then move a value of 0 into the accumulator because we need to reset it since the change will be coming out. And now, generate P1 for 1. So that will generate, it will move a value of 100 into this simple I/O pin, and this can only be used with simple I/O pins. And then it will sleep for 4 seconds, then move a value of 0 into P1 and sleep for 1 second. So I was able to, I could use this microcontroller to generate a pulse for the bell, and I set this to sleep 1. Now this one handles this microcontroller handles the coins out, and because I was able to do this, this is why I was able to remove the DX300, because I didn't need it since these microcontrollers have 3 IOs together. So it sleeps until it receives data, I move it to the accumulator, and I start a loop. I test if the accumulator is greater than 4. If it is, it has to put out a 5. So, subtract 5, then generate a pulse out of P1 for 1 second, and then a 0 for 1 second. And then I jump back to the loop again, and check if it's still 5 or more. If it's not, then I test if the accumulator is greater than 0, so 1 or more. And while this could trigger if it's got 5 or more, it shouldn't. But if it is 1 or more, then I subtract 1, and generate a pulse out of P0 for 1 second, and then jump back to loop. And so if the accumulator reaches 0, it should hit to the bottom and sleep 1. So let's test the never mind. Okay, so no, I guess I did need to test if x0 is greater than the accumulator. Oh well, simulate, because I don't know. Okay, because if it's not greater than... I don't see... Okay. Well, that worked. And I hit the average production cost, or most common production cost, most common power usage, and most common lines of code, which shows me that this is the solution that everyone else seemed to have come up with. I guess. I could be wrong. Alright, from David P. Solomon. Yeah, I still can't read it. It is a small start, but like us, what is it? 3 Kingdoms Land. Yeah, 3 Kingdoms Land has global expansion in mind. As it is said, I don't know what that is. From Carl Teskey, thank you so much for your ancient wisdom, David. And David says, you're welcome. Alright, I've got a few minutes left, so we've got new Shenzhen days. Say cheese. Yeah, from Tilly. Okay, remember when I said I only had one thing to complain about Westerners living here? Well, I have another one, so sorry, but here I go. It's complaining about cheese. That's right, talking nonstop about your precious, precious cheeses and how they don't exist here. Definitely not in the quantity, quality, and variety that they do in France or Wisconsin or wherever. Well, it might be hard to wrap your head around the fact that an entire civilization and one of the top culinary traditions in the world was developed entirely without curdled milk solids, but it's true. It happened. Which is not to say I don't like cheese myself. I do. Late at night, you might even find me at the McDonald's on Shenzhen Road eating cheeseburgers like the gluttonous, young, modern global citizen that I am. I'm just saying there's plenty of good and legitimate food that exists without cheese, and it's not like you're going to die for a lack of it. Anyway, when you take a picture, you don't say cheese in China, because why would we say that? You say eggplant. You hear me? Cheesy. Cheesy? Say it right, it sounds kind of like cheese. Maybe. Yours, Tilly. Well, that's an interesting bit of cultural knowledge. Or cheesy? I'm not quite sure how that Z is pronounced there. Or, well, oh well, it doesn't matter.